Hey, good morning, everybody. I am really glad you're here. I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body mind expert and a shiatsu massage therapist, and I specialize in helping women deal with toxic and narcissistic relationships, whether you are in the process of getting divorced, recently divorced, want to get divorced, decide that you need to stay because you've got other obligations, kids or businesses or things along those lines. Whatever situation you're in, whether you're healing from your past, from your family, doesn't matter. We can help you on this journey. So today we're talking about why do narcissists get so angry? And this is something that I think is seriously misunderstood about a lot of people who deal with narcissists. A narcissist is fairly incapable, for the most part, of telling you exactly what's going on. Instead, because of their mental health condition, because of their PTSD, whatever it may be, instead, their first response is to strike out. Now, interestingly enough, every person only has a certain amount of willpower. And if that willpower is used, to look good in public, even though you're stressed out, if your willpower is being used to be nice, even though you're in a bad mood, if your willpower is being used to get things done, even though you're exhausted, then what happens is by the time they get to you, the safe person that is supposed to love them and be there for them no matter what, by the time they get to you, then they have not a lot of willpower left. That's one of those weird things about how they're able to be, completely screaming at you on the one hand, and then someone walks in the room and they're able to pull it back together. It's because where you're concerned, they've decided they don't have enough willpower to be nice, to not be tired and angry and frustrated and use whatever tools they have to be vicious and mean and horrible. So many times a narcissist is getting angry because of things way out of your control. Usually it's because they're tired. They've allowed themselves to be tired. Maybe they haven't had boundaries with people. Maybe they're resentful. Maybe they've, done more than they wanted to do and they've given to other people. And then they turn around and they're really struggling. You actually find this a lot with healers. There's a lot of healers who struggle with narcissism. And the reason being is because they give so much to everybody else without any boundaries that by the time they get home, then they can't calm down. And they get angry easily, they get vicious easily. That's one of the reasons I kind of stay away from groups of healers, because there's still a lot of stuff going on, a lot of mental health stuff going on, because people get into healing or into helping professions usually because they're helping themselves and they're still working through their own issues, and that's the way that they're doing it. So a narcissist will get angry because they're in pain, because they're tired, because they're overwhelmed, because they're irritated by something else, because of traffic or weather, or maybe their plans were changed, all sorts of random things, which for whatever reason are making that particular narcissist feel overwhelmed. And when they feel overwhelmed, all bets are off. And you, because you're in relationship with them, very likely in their mind, they say, well, you signed up for this. Nobody else gets this, but you signed up for it. You're the one who married me. You're the one who decided to stick around. It's your fault. If you didn't stick around, then I wouldn't be doing this to you. It's this weird logic of I can't help myself, and you agreed to be the one that I do this to. So, how do you start changing this stuff around? Well, a big piece of it is you start really respecting the experience you want to have. And if you respect the experience you want to have, then you start setting better boundaries. You start sticking up for yourself. You start being extremely clear. You start being concrete clear, like, that is insulting. I'm not putting up with it. Or, that was insensitive. which means that I am going to leave right now. Or you are being angry and hurtful. And because of that, I'm shutting down. Whatever it may be, we have to address, here's this narcissist struggling with something, who's used to these patterns of behavior, who's used to behaving this way, who's used to people letting them get away with it because they're so vicious about it, or so over the top. And so they're used to people being able to find people that will allow them to, express themselves in this way. There's a weird relationship between victim and victimizer. The victimizer tends to feel very grateful. I know, believe it or not, grateful for the victim, which means that on the one hand, they will go above and beyond to do things which are caring and nurturing. And then on the other hand, they feel it's justified because you let them physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically violate you and express themselves in the way that they want to express, that let's say a toddler would express themselves as, without any control because they're tired, because they're on edge. So many times narcissists have a problem with self-responsibility. They're not responsible for their own emotions. And because they aren't, when they get tired, they just keep doing things until they blow up. When they get overwhelmed, they just keep doing things until they blow up. They don't catch it, they don't understand, and they don't course correct. So if they're tired or overwhelmed, they don't do anything about it. They figure that their coping mechanism is to just get mad. And because you have chosen to be in relationship with them, then you signed up for it. This is not necessarily what you deserve, but it's what you're going to get because they can't do it to anybody else. So I want you to keep these things in mind. When a narcissist is getting angry, it usually has to do with their inner experience of pain or tiredness or overwhelm or overstimulation. And when that happens, they don't have very good coping skills. Their coping skills that they've always used is to blow up and scare the hell out of people around them, scare the hell out of the people that care about them so that no one stands up to them. What I would suggest is if you start setting boundaries and seeing if it's noticing changes, then the person that you're in a relationship with probably doesn't necessarily want to be as big of a jerk as they're coming off as being. They don't necessarily want to be that person, but they feel they have no choice. And which, as we both know, is a very irresponsible way to think about things, way to think about life, that you have no choice, even though you're an adult. You always have choices. So they make the choice, by hook or by crook, to manage their stress and emotions by manipulation and anger and emotional violence. So I want you to keep this in mind. When a narcissist is acting up, I want you to realize that it really does have nothing to do with you. It probably has to do with just like a toddler when they're tired or overwhelmed and they need caffeine or a nap or a break, something along those lines. But until they recognize that, until they make that connection, then they're perfectly content behaving the way that they are because they see nothing wrong with it because it doesn't affect them and it makes them feel better. Whereas you end up being collateral damage. And because it's not right and because it's not fair, it's up to you to start to make those changes if you don't want that to happen to you anymore. And it's doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're mean. It doesn't mean that you're insensitive. It means that you're holding someone to a higher level of accountability so that they can be a better version of themselves. So that even if they don't stay with you, that maybe in the future they might be able to have a better relationship because they don't repeat these patterns. So when you start to set boundaries and structure and consequences, you're helping someone be the person that they want to be. You're helping them start to take responsibility for their choices because you're not just allowing it and saying it's okay. So even though it shouldn't be okay, it's common knowledge these things aren't okay. In their mind, they're able to justify to themselves that it is okay because they're so tired or angry or hungry or overwhelmed or overstimulated or bored too. So there's all those things that happen. So I want you to keep that in mind when a narcissist is getting angry. When they're getting angry, it's up to you to protect yourself because they're not going to do it because they see nothing wrong with that behavior. So it's up to you to protect yourself and set those lines and say, you are insulting, you are being rude. That is out of line. And because you're doing this, this is how I'm going to handle it. It's important for us to care enough about people to hold them accountable. Because when we don't care enough, then we just turn around and walk away without trying to figure out what's going on. But if we start to hold people to a higher standard of beingness, we're actually looking out for their best interests as well as our own. So when you have tough love, we've been talking about that lately. When you set those lines, which look mean or look insensitive or thoughtless when someone is struggling, what you're actually doing is you're helping someone learn how to be a better version of themselves. So I invite you to, in small ways, little mini tiptoe ways, start looking at places that you can set those lines, because you don't deserve to be treated that way. You don't deserve to be in that place. And we want to make sure that we make the whole world better. Okay. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Share this with people who might need it. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. And we've got this group coaching thing. I'll be launching it to, more of my general audience, probably within the next few weeks. We're doing a soft opening with people who are already in the group as we, get the details worked out. And then we will do a bigger opening to people who are connected with me. And it's a wonderful group of women who, it's tools and support and weekly calls and friendships and body mind experts and all sorts of wonderful parts and pieces. So I hope you're able to join us. We're going to keep it super affordable for people. And I'll see you Monday, because today's Friday. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.